Can you tell us a little bit about the letter today that you received?
Well, I think it's a pretty significant letter, and it really sends a great message to our community of Fairbanks. And that is, we've been asking for months now to get information from the Pentagon on the move of F-16s down to Anchorage, and we had a lot of concerns over this. This letter now says no moving until Congress finishes its work, and that to us is a huge win because it gets the administration out of this, leaves it in the hands of Congress, and that's where it should have been in the first place.
And what role did you play as a member of the Armed Services Committee in this process?
Well, we took some dramatic moves. First was putting a hold on a general, which I know got some people a little agitated over at the Pentagon, and even some of my colleagues came to me and wondered what I was doing. But I was there to represent the 600 plus families at Eielson Air Force Base, plus all of the folks in Fairbanks and the impact it would have. We worked in language in the Defense Authorization Bill that made it very clear that no action should take place on this transfer until more work is done by the Pentagon. So those two pieces, the hold and the language in the Defense Authorization Bill, I think got us to this point. And I will say that, we had the Secretary of Defense, we had the Chief of Staff of the Air Force a couple times in my office, some leadership from the majority harassing me on this issue, and I refused to budge until we got clarification on what this all meant to the folks in Fairbanks. And this letter clearly states now they're not going to make any moves on F-16s until Congress does its action. And as you know, in the bill we have, it makes it very clear they can't move forward until they do several steps and prove that there are savings and that there are clearly things going to be taken care of. And I don't think they can do it.
And then you had said that you felt like they were making decisions without all the information, that they weren't being forthcoming with what they knew.
No question about it. This has been an ongoing request we had. And it was basic information, what's going to happen with the housing, for example, when they move that many families to Anchorage, where there's no space at the inn, as I would say. There's no barracks in the Army or Air Force available for them. What about the environmental impact, which is required for them to do? What about the folks who have houses in Fairbanks now that will be told to move very quickly? What do they do with their home that's stuck in Fairbanks? All these issues the Fairbanks community brought to our attention, as well as we brought to the Pentagon's attention. And every time we asked for an answer, they didn't really have an answer. And we said, well, if you're trying to save money and you say it's going to save money, then where's the information that says you can do this? And so far to this date, they've been unable to do it. And I think what they realized was we were not going to just roll over. We were not going to just sit here and take their views and make that the fact. And we said, well, and as I said, I took a dramatic step. I put in a hold on a 3-star general that he wasn't going to get his 4-star general. I heard a lot of noise from the Pentagon on that. And then we worked language into the Defense Authorization Bill, making it very clear you can't move anything from Fairbanks to Anchorage without a whole process and a public process. Well, they've now, in this letter, agreed that Congress was right here, that they need to hold back. Congress needs to do its work, which we're doing now, and the F-16s aren't going to move down to Anchorage before this year's out, clearly.
And so what does this mean for the community of Fairbanks moving forward?
Well, we get some reprieve here, which is very important. Second, I think Fairbanks should be very proud of the fact that they helped us make the case. They were really at the table full force with us. And as I said, we made some legislative moves that were somewhat unprecedented, as I was told by the Pentagon, but I didn't really care what they had to say here because my view was, give me the information, we will resolve this issue, but we will resolve it when we both have the same facts on the table. And I think for Fairbanks, what this does also, it gives us a chance to really understand what the consequences are of this. And I think once that's all laid out, the housing issues, the environmental impact, which now the military has agreed to do both these issues, as well as the other costs associated with this move makes no sense. And I think Fairbanks community knew this, the Pentagon just didn't know it. And I think now we'll have the time to lay out all these facts, have the data, and prove our point, which I think is what we've been only asking for from day one.
And so will you release your hold?
Now that they've done this and that they've committed and that they're not going to move these F-16s, you bet, I'll take the hold off. And that's exactly why we had the hold there. We said we want information. We'll debate the strategic and the budget savings once we have the information, but we had no information coming from them. Now we finally are getting it. Now we'll release the hold. F-16 stay in Fairbanks while we go through this process, and that's a win for Alaska and win for Fairbanks.